to be talking about software development and nearshore development, a very hot topic these days. And we have an expert, a partner of the U.S. Business Association of E-commerce, Ultrix. David, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Taide. It's great to be here. Hope we can be of some help to a lot of companies.
I'm sure you will. So before we start, if you guys have any questions, so David has a presentation prepared. And if you guys have any questions, we're going to have a Q&A at the end of his presentation. So make sure that you ask those questions through wherever you are watching this webinar, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Write your questions below in the chat, the message area. I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep track of those, and we will try to cover as many as we can. And before we continue, David, I would like you to introduce yourself, introduce the company before we jump into your presentation. So welcome, David.
Great. Thanks. Ultrix, we partnered up with Victor and Patricio, which you guys will probably meet sometime in the future. We partnered up about 3 years ago to build Ultrix to offer software development, nearshore software development. We'll get into what that is in a little bit, for mainly American companies, understanding that small, medium, and large companies needed an alternative to software development of high quality without having to incur some of the costs that are associated with US-based development. I myself started out in fintech, actually. In about 2013, building financial technology in Argentina. It's actually a great place to start because you have to deal with things like regulation, security, cybersecurity, understanding clients' needs, especially in retail. And so that was a great start for me that actually led me into financial technology and then technology as a whole. And our partner Patricio, he's been working in infrastructure, cybersecurity for over 10 years now. So he understands the perils and all the things that can come up in enterprise grade software. And Victor, our partner that's based in Ensenada in Baja California, he's been in development, business development, understanding the needs of American clients for almost 2 decades and understanding what American companies need. And so we think that we've made a great partnership with our team of dozens of engineers to offer solutions for companies of all sizes, because we can offer solutions for smaller companies, smaller solutions, but we can also offer enterprise grade software. And like I said, we understand that there's a big need in the American market, especially after everything we went through in 2020. So the idea of this presentation is to help everybody understand maybe they're not so into technology as we are, obviously, and so to help them understand what we do and where we might be able to help. And regardless of if companies end up working with us or not, we want them to understand that there's a lot of possibilities that weren't available 5 years ago.
That is correct. And I'm glad that you mentioned that this topic is not just for large corporations. It applies to smaller companies that are trying to optimize their operations. So if it is okay with you, David, let's just start with your presentation, and then we'll leave a Q&A for the end.
Great. Okay. So like I said, the idea of this presentation is to, first of all, thanks for joining us and everybody that's here, and then also thanks for everybody that's going to watch this later on YouTube or on LinkedIn or wherever you may be watching. Like I said, the presentation is to talk a little bit about the state of software development in 2021 and why you might, if you're thinking of building software, e-commerce applications, you might want to consider nearshore development as an alternative that, as you'll see, even Fortune 500 companies are choosing. Next slide, Taide. So first, the state of software development in 2021. Like I said, things have changed a lot in the last 5 years or even 3 years. Before, where you needed dozens of developers to build great software, there's so many open source solutions that are worked uh, and made better by large communities. And there's so much great work being done by developers all over the world that now you can build great software with much smaller teams in a much more agile way, in a much more cost-effective way. And that's very important, because maybe some of you thought about building software a few years ago. You asked for a quote and you realized it was extremely expensive. And that's changing a lot. Development has gotten more agile, and that allows you to get to market much quicker. Maybe an alternative that would have taken a year and a half some time ago, you can build in a couple of months now. Remote is the new normal. We all know that. That's great for us. So it doesn't matter if your software developer is on premise or he might be hundreds of or thousands of miles away. The important thing is that the work is good. And as we've all gotten more used to remote, it has made it easier for people to actually jump out of their seats and get into building the platforms that they've wanted to build for some time but couldn't. And of course, there's lower infrastructure setup, maintenance costs. It costs a lot less than it did 5 years ago to build software, to build great platforms, and to have them be something that's an investment long term. Next slide, please. There's a lot more alternatives. There's a lot more software, a lot more frameworks. Frameworks are basically the tools that we use to build software, the infrastructure, the applications. There's so many more alternatives than there was before, and that allows for or there's things like that are called backend as a service, for example. Before, you had to set up on-premise storage and all of that, and now you have cloud services, SaaS companies that provide those storage solutions for smaller companies. And so now you have alternatives that are not so costly to get started out when you're building your application. Like I said, developers can be next door, they can be thousands of miles away. And this allows for new opportunities. And that's so important, because maybe you're somebody that was thinking of building not just one application, but you had an idea to build platforms and software, and you knew that there was a niche in your market that was very important. And maybe 5 years ago, you couldn't get in. Now you can, because there's things like Nearshore, and there's things like open source, and there's all these great tools available to build software in a much more cost-effective way than ever before. Next slide, please. So taking those things into account, maybe you're thinking of building software in the next few months, years, and you've been contemplating it, and you've asked for some quotes, and you're not sure if you're willing to take the leap. Today, we're going to go over 3 alternatives to software development. Of course, you have US-based developers, people that are in the United States. You have offshore development, which is basically going out and searching for developers somewhere else that might be cheaper. And you have what's a lot of, like I said, Fortune 500 companies are looking into is and are working with, and have been working with for some time, and that's nearshore development. And we'll get into that now. Next slide, please. So you have US-based development. That one's quite simple. The quality is very high. We know that. The United States has some of the best programmers in the world, the best tech people in the world. But that comes with very high costs. Programmers, building your first application might cost you $60, $70, $80, $100,000. Paying a programmer might cost you $150, $180 an hour, depending on the level of expertise and the complexities of of the solution you're looking for. So maybe some of you have been looking at development and have seen those steep prices and are looking for other alternatives that are, of high quality, but you can't at this time, pay those very high costs of US based development. Next slide, please. Offshore development, on the other hand, is lower quality. We understand that. You might get a programmer that's on the other side of the world, in markets where you can have someone for very cheap. But that comes with its issues. You have communication issues. Maybe you can't communicate correctly because of language barriers. You have time zone issues where you might be working and they're sleeping, and vice versa. So you can't really communicate on some of the issues that are going on with your application. That makes it sometimes that ends up generating maybe an outcome that you're not looking for. The application is not exactly what you're looking for because you haven't been able to communicate correctly on your time because of this time zone differences. And you have cultural issues that honestly I've seen personally how companies in the United States have had those cultural issues and different ways of going about doing business end up being a big problem at the moment of launching a platform or an application. There's also the legal issues. When you go offshore, you're working with companies that are in countries that have a different legal system, and that might put your proprietary solutions or everything that you might be able to protect under U.S. law, it's at risk. So you have to take that into account. You're going offshore. Maybe you have a code base that somebody in the United States started out. Maybe you have a great idea that you don't want somebody copying. And if you go offshore, if you're working with a company that has a different legal system, that might be an issue, and it has been an issue before. So that's a big deal and something you have to take into account. Of course, they're cheaper. They're much cheaper. That's the reality. But you run this risk. Time, so cultural issues, especially legal issues, and the quality can be off-putting, especially for a market like the American market that wants high quality. They're used to high quality. They're not willing to wait a second for your page to load. And so taking all those things into account, you have to really consider if offshore development is the right choice. Next slide, please. So then we get to nearshore development. Like I said, nearshore has been chosen by companies large and small for quite some time. Some of the largest companies in the United States, like IBM, Walmart, etc., choose nearshore development because there's proven high quality. The reality is that Latin America has very high quality programmers, and they have shown, and we have shown over time and time again, that we can get the job done with the highest quality in terms of user experience, security, infrastructure, scalability, and that's very important. And there's a reason why Fortune 500 companies keep coming back. There's similar cultures. When you're working with developers in Baja California, for example, where we have people, or in Argentina, where we have a large base of our team. There's similar cultural issues. They understand the American market, the American people. They're much more likely to understand American companies and consumers. The English level is higher. That's a reality. We have, especially in countries like Mexico, we have very high English proficiency, and that's so important to be able to communicate correctly on a regular basis. And time zones. The reality is that, for example, it's 2:44 in California. It's 7:44 here in Argentina. So we're working when you guys are sleeping, and we've been working for 3-4 hours when you get to the office, and that's really cool. And we've had clients that are really happy about that. And if you're in the East Coast, or if you're in the middle of the country, if you're in Chicago, we align even better because we can work with you for a long periods of time, and we can have meetings every single day, whether you're in California or you're in New York. We can meet every day. We can work together. Teams can coordinate, and that's so important. Legal issues. Well, for example, in the case of Ultrix, we are uh, incorporated in the U.S. So that's so important. When, like we were talking about, you have an idea you want to protect, proprietary things. You want to protect your company from getting a clone out there or something. So we'll sign contracts and NDAs in the U.S. with our U.S. based company, and that's so important to protect you, to protect your interests, your company's interests. That's going to be super important in case you have investors that are investing in your tech or your solution. To understand that you can sleep well at night knowing that you're protected because every contract that has been signed under U.S. law. And then, of course, like we talked about, the reason so many companies from the U.S. are coming to Latin America looking for nearshore development is because of the quality cost ratio is as good as it can get, really. Next slide, please. Like we said, Fortune 500 companies are choosing LATAM and nearshore because of the track record. LATAM is growing at almost 50% higher rate than the rest of the world in terms of the output of very proficient technological engineers and programmers. Like I said, there's great tech education here in terms of university level courses and studies. Like companies like HP, Walmart, American Express has found time and time again that the IT talent in Latin America is very high. And Latin American companies have a great understanding of frameworks and the methods that U.S. companies are used to working with. So if you're used to working with Scrum, Agile formats, the frameworks that your company or you've been hearing, if you're a smaller company that you might want to work with, we work with those, and we're always looking towards the United States to see what's next, to see what the Googles, the Facebooks are building that we can use. I'll give you an example. These large companies have built technologies like React. That's a library that's based on JavaScript that allows us to build great software for example, React Native for iOS and Android. And that's very important because some of you guys that want an application for your consumers that's on both platforms, it can be more cost effective to build it with React Native. And we're used to working with all those frameworks, and that's going to save you a lot of money. That's going to allow you to know that you're using a great technology that large companies like Facebook use, and that's going to allow us to build things that are going to be lasting, that are going to, be scalable, that are going to, hopefully you're going to grow a lot, and these platforms will be ready because we're going to be using the technologies that the largest companies in the United States use. Next slide, please. So what are some of the alternatives in nearshore development? There's staff augmentation. So maybe you're a small, a medium-sized company that wants to build software, e-commerce platforms. You want to build applications, and you understand that hiring people in the United States can be quite expensive. In California, salaries are all over well over $100,000 sometimes for certain programmers and engineers. And so what we offer is staff augmentation, where we provide companies with our people, with people that we've vetted, that we make sure are of the highest quality and standards, and they're great programmers, great engineers, great professionals, and we provide those personnels, those resources to American companies, obviously at a much lower cost, but they're great. They're great at building the platforms that you need. They're building great tech, and they understand what the American market needs. We like I said, we vetted them. We work closely with them. We're on top of everything that they're doing, and so maybe a programmer that you get with staff augmentation, you could save, 50% and get just as good a talent. So that's really important. We also have dedicated teams. For example, if you're building, you know, software and you need us to handle everything, and maybe, you want a dedicated team that's working on your project 24/7, and you want us to, have that, I would say on premise, but now it's all remote. So we're working with them. We're making sure that, our PMs, our project managers are making sure that your software is getting built the way you want and on your timetables. Distributed teams, like I said, we can have people in Argentina. We can have people in Mexico. We can have people that are from different parts that fit the needs that you want. Because, maybe if you're looking for a programmer to build your software in California, you might be looking for people in or around your city, and they're very expensive. We can make sure that we find the right talent, the correct talent to build great software anywhere in Latin America. Basically, we focus mainly on Argentina and Mexico, but we've also found great talent in Chile and Colombia. So we can have it allows you to have a distributed team if you're thinking of building software. And of course, maybe what most of you that are in the webinar might be looking for is project-based model. So basically, you bring us your idea or your sketches or your design, what you want to build, and we build that application, that software, e-commerce, that web page. We build that for you, and like I said, you can get that done in the United States, but the costs have gotten so steep in building these kinds of projects in the US that there's a reason why so many companies are coming to Latin America looking for project-based model where, you want to build the next great e-commerce for your region. You can build it. You want to build an application that connects clients from different industries. We can build it. You want to build internal tools so your company is more productive and your team members are happier working from one platform. We can build it. And so that's very important because, a lot of people are coming to us looking to build the great next software, and we can get that done. Next slide, please. Like I said, let's get into some of the things that we can build. We can build high-level company websites. Maybe you want your high-end store. You have a product that's high-end, and clients expect a high-end website from you. We can build that. We've built that many times, and we can build things that are just what a client needs to have the digital presence they want. E-commerce sites and platforms. Maybe you want a great e-commerce experience because you can make all the difference. A great e-commerce experience can make the difference between a client staying and shopping or moving on. And not all sites are built the same. So we can use some of the great technologies available for e-commerce to build an experience that your users want. Or maybe you want to build a platform for e-commerce. You want to connect people. You want to connect stores and clients from all over the United States. We can build that. We can build tools that helps you analyze data and make better decisions. Internal tools that will help you make better decisions, save money, build what you're trying to build in your company, whether small or big. Obviously, mobile apps or web apps. So an application for iOS, a web app that can work. Now you have a progressive web apps that are applications that act like they're mobile apps. They feel like mobile apps, but they're actually a website. And so you can run them on Android. You can run them on iOS. You can run them on the web, on your computer, and they feel native to all these platforms. And building those kind of solutions for the idea you had might be the best alternative to build, a great app. Enterprise software, internal tools, like I said, maybe you're a larger company and you need an enterprise solution that's safe, that's secure, that's scalable, because you're going to be processing a lot of information, and so we can build that for enterprise. We have a lot of experience. Cloud migration, or building on the cloud. Maybe some of you have on-premise servers and they're costly. You have to maintain them. And you're looking to migrate to the cloud, because you'll in the cloud, you'll pay for what you use, not more than that. And if you have, for example, a big sale, it's Black Friday, cloud will allow for your page to not, crash when you get an influx of thousands of clients and buyers on that very, very special day. So maybe uh, you have some servers on premise, or you're thinking of building something. Cloud is the way to go if you want to be able to scale rapidly if you need it on those special days where you might sell a lot, and then you come back and you waste a lot less because you're not using all that you needed on those special days. We work with infrastructure and DevOps. DevOps is basically we maintain your platforms, your software. We build your infrastructure. We make sure that they're secure. We make sure that you're saving as much money. Maybe infrastructure and DevOps is geared toward larger companies. And then QA and testing. We make sure that everything runs as it should, that there's no security issues, that there's no way that your client's information might be exposed, to make sure that from the front end, from what your users are looking at, that it looks great on a computer and it looks great on a phone and on iOS, and that everything works as it should. So we offer just about anything that you can imagine. We've worked on it. We've done it at some point, and we can definitely offer it. Next slide, please. So the costs. Nearshore has so many alternatives. There's so many formats, and what's important to us, and what's important to, for example, for Victor, our partner, he understands this better than anybody, is that there's different budgets. Smaller companies have certain budgets. Obviously, larger companies have larger ones. We can build a solution, and we can work with you one-on-one to understand what your budget is and what we can build with it, and so you get a great solution that you're looking for to grow your business, to get more clients that adjusts to the budget that you have. The reality is that with Nearshore, you can have, in some cases, cost reductions in building applications and software that's as high as 70%. It depends on what you're building, but there's a huge upside in what you can save going Nearshore. And we have a lot of flexibility. We understand that there's companies that have been going through a tough time, especially in 2020. So we've had some companies we've been flexible in terms of payment methods and installments, etc. We're willing to talk to you and to understand your needs and what you're going through, because it's been a tough time for all of us. 2020 has been tough on all of us, and we want to transmit that we're very flexible when we sit down and we understand how you can go about, because our ultimate goal is for you to build the software you want, the application you want, the e-commerce you want, and to do it. And we want to see you succeed, because if you succeed, we're happy, and we're probably gonna you're probably gonna refer us. That's the reality, and that's great. We want to build great software, and we want you to succeed, and we want to sit down and we don't want you wondering if you're going to be able to pay for it to be an issue. We'll talk about it. We'll see what options are available, and we'll help you accomplish your dream of building that platform, that software, that site, getting more clients, reaching a new market. We want to help you out. Next slide, please. Trust. It's so important. That's one of the big issues. I've seen a lot of companies deal with offshore development. You're talking with somebody, you're not sure where they're at. You're not sure if their company if it's large or small. There's a lot of issues. So we look at all our U.S.-based customers, all our customers all over the world, as we want to build long-term relationships, and that's so important. So when you're out, you might not work with us, but when you're out looking for a nearshore development firm, you have to consider if you think you can build a long-term relationship, and that implies full transparency. So when you sit down with them, are they transparent about their methods, their costs, the way they're going to work? That's so important. because you cannot have, you're going to be investing a lot of your money, a lot of your time, on your dream, on building great software, and you need full transparency. And that also means, like we said, willingness to sign contracts and NDAs and to abide by American law, so you don't have issues sometime in the future. And it's so important for nearshore development firms to be solid on things like timelines. If the platform is going to get built in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, to have a very good timeline and to keep up with those with that schedule. Communication is a key. Obviously, constant communication, being able to talk one-on-one, to open up about things that are going on in the development process, and commitment. A commitment to excellence, to building great software, to seeing it out, and to making sure that you end up with the solution and with the app or software or site or e-commerce that you were looking for. Next slide, please. That's it. We're here to help. That's what we wanted to get across. This presentation was it's so important to us. The partnership we built with Tide. It's so important to us to be able to help out businesses of all sizes, because we really feel that when SMEs succeed, the United States succeeds, and people and you generate more jobs, and you get more people being able to reach their dreams, and that's so important that we want to help you out. We want to help you build the solution you're looking for. Whether you come, the point of this presentation was to get you to understand what Nearshore is, to understand what we can offer, what you can build, that things have changed a lot. So maybe you weren't able to build something sometime in the past, and now you can. And whether you choose us or you choose other alternatives, there's great nearshore development firms all over Latin America. We wanted to for you to understand a little bit better what can be built, and that there's a lot of options out there that are cost effective. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, David. Great presentation. And we have a few minutes to address a couple of questions that I collected from the chats. And if any of you guys have any additional questions, this is the time to ask. But let me just I want to try to get you to share a couple of examples of previous works that you have done, because let me tell you something, David, for a lot of folks that are watching us right now, business owners that are watching us right now, they have no idea of what can be done through this process. And I'm talking about optimizing an operation. If you're a business owner right now that are running your business on Excel spreadsheets and using like pen and paper, to keep inventory or things like that. I mean, I'm going to the extreme right now. I can tell you that if you optimize your internal operation, you're going to become more competitive in the marketplace. And I have seen it, with some of my clients in the past and current clients that went from being like 4th largest company in the industry to number 1 in most of the markets that they are participating, right? So if you don't mind sharing, sharing with us at least one example, David, that could resonate with our audience, because a lot of the businesses that are members of the association are in the mid-size, smaller size level, and of course we have larger corporations that they are already developing software to optimize their operation because they understand how important it is. But I don't know if you have any
Sure.
recent
Definitely.
example that you can share.
So we built that's a huge issue. First of all, having good internal tools to optimize your processes, to not have waste, to know where you're allocating resources, where money is going. That's so important for medium-sized companies. It can make the difference between maybe some months being profitable or not. A few months ago, we built a platform that was built for medium-sized stores that like you said, we're still working with that, and companies had issues, maintaining that Excel sheet and being able to keep track of their their purchases, the sales they were doing, the inventory. So this company came to us. They needed a solution that 10, 15, 20 members could use at the same time, and they wanted to keep it simple. They wanted to be able to have all their stock in one place. So if somebody at one store sold something, everybody saw that stock was going down. It gave you an alert. It gives you an alert when you're low on stock, so you can make the right decisions in terms of, and you run out of stock of a product. They wanted to be able to have all their contacts, customers and providers, in the app with all the information, with notes. They wanted to be able to have contact information that all the team members, or the team members that were allowed to look at it, to be able to access and to be able to quickly contact a customer. They wanted an easy way to go into a customer and see their how they've shopped in the past, to understand maybe how they've behaved, so they can make better decisions. So maybe if an issue arises, they can quickly see when that purchase was made. And when they make purchases, procurement, they could see what they were spending on, what they were wasting money. It was transparent, so you knew exactly what was coming in and what was coming out. And at the end, there's a section in the application, for example, we built for this customer, where it's all analytics. So it brings all that together. You see what you sold, you see the segments that were sold. So you sold a lot more, of certain kind of products. You see what's going on, so you can make better decisions. So you can understand what clients are buying, what clients are buying what, and you can also understand where you're wasting money. Maybe you're wasting a lot of money on something you thought you weren't wasting money on, and you can make better decisions. And then we put that in a format that this client needed, that they could see what was going on one day. So they could see what was their income, their net income on one day. They could see what happened that week. They could see what happened that month or that year, or historical. And that helps them make better decisions, because it's in a format that's easy to understand. They can see it through their cell phone. They can access it through their computer if they want to have a format. They're more comfortable on computers. A tablet, they can do it on. They can access all their information, their sales, their analytics, their stock on the go. Maybe you have a purchasing manager somewhere and they need to see something really quick. So it's a simple solution that makes all the difference in the world for a company that needs to get their numbers straight and needs to understand where money's coming in and where it's going out. It can make the difference between success and failure. And that was a great project we built, and our client is super happy with it. And we're really happy to be able to help and to be able to build that.
That's a great example. Thank you for sharing. And please remind us how important it is communication in this type of projects, David, because I have seen it in the past where the client tried to communicate what they need. The development team kind of like think that they think what the customer needs. They start coding. They develop the software, and then at the end of the day, it's not what the client needed in the beginning. So how important it is in this process to have a very honest, straightforward, and open communication, so you guys can do your job right.
It's maybe one of the most important things. Open communication is so important. You don't want to realize 2 months or 3 months down the road that the firm that you hired is building something you didn't want. Mm-hmm. They didn't understand what you needed. And that happens a lot sometimes, because it's so important for a company to have great technical people, world-class technical people, but they need people. They need people that are used to talking to people that are not technological. Victor is one of those persons. I've been in tech for a long time, but I come from a different background in economics, and it's important to understand that a client might not be able to transmit exactly what they want to build. So you got to be able to sit down, you got to be able to communicate, and you got to have a fluid communication throughout the whole process. Because if you sit down with a technical person, technical people are great at building technical things, but sometimes they're not so great at understanding what a client wants, what a customer's going to want, what the how that the functionality you want to build is going to be used in real life. And so to be able to communicate real time, not over email, not send an email at 1 PM and get a response the next day, real time, because you send an email 1 PM, you get a response the next day. Maybe the programmer wrote 20,000 lines of code. So it's important to have real time conversations, to understand, to go over it, to design it, to sit down, over video chat or the format that's needed, and to really understand and to understand that that customer that's coming to us for a solution, they're not technological, and that's perfectly fine, because they're probably super good, they're extremely talented at what they do. Our job is to understand their needs. It's not the other way around. It's not their job to understand what we want to how we want to build things. We need to understand what those customers want, and our job is to simply make it and make it great. And so for us, especially maybe for cultural reasons, we're always communicating, we're always on top of things, trying to make sure that we're doing exactly what our client needs and being open. Our client wants to contact us and wants to see at what stage the development process is. That's super important, and they should be able to. I've read so many horror stories about companies that don't respond to emails. They'll show up, they'll return a call a few days later. They're not showing the process that the development is at. Maybe they're saying that they're at the 2-month stage and they're still at the 1-month stage because they've put off some things. So fluent communication is important, and it's important. I want to be super clear about this. It's important for the nearshore development firm that you're working with to understand your problem, to understand you, not the other way around. You're not a super techie person. That's not an issue. It cannot be an issue.
And I think that's how the conversation has to start. Like, I have this problem and I'm trying to solve it with software and by optimizing, automating certain processes within my company. And that's where you guys come in. And, it's so important. And I wanted to address again because someone asked about that. Like, they were in the process of developing an app, they said. And the company in Asia told them it was going to take 3 months. It's been almost a year and they haven't completed the process. And
I see it so often.
Yeah. So picture that, like how much money that company is losing because they didn't hire the right developers just to try to save some money, or maybe because there wasn't like a good communication. I mean, you cannot get to the point where you want, like in this case, that they wanted a mobile app and they were asking the owner to sign, do all the registration and Apple development and all that. The owner doesn't know anything about that. Right. So what you just said, David, is so important to have that communication where the client tells you what problems they are trying to solve, and you guys come up with the best option for those, right?
Exactly. We're here to solve problems, to offer solutions, not to generate more problems. And I see it so often where companies, where people are like, I've hired this firm in Asia. They told me 3 months, and they keep charging my credit card, because some people actually even pay with credit card, and they keep charging me, and they're not giving me the solution that I need. It's been well over the time frame that they told us. And that's why, for example, in terms of pricing, in terms of, signing contracts and keeping up with those contracts, is so important to try to build things with companies that are incorporated in the United States, because that protects you with American law and not some law built for another country that you don't understand. And that's really important, because you need to protect your asset. Because this client that told you, this person that told you that they're losing so much money, they're not just losing money because they put money in and they still don't have their application, or because they keep charging them more. They're losing money because they're not out in the market. They're not using that application the way it was intended to get more clients, to get more sales, to help them get better profits or whatever they wanted to build. And so it's costly all the way around. It's costing you money right now, and it's costing you money 2 months down the road. And so it's so important for there to be full transparency in what process the development stage is at. Even you might have some hiccups, you might have some issues. The client might say, look, I thought we wanted this. Can you tweak this? Can you make this changes? Like I said, you need to be flexible, understanding, and there might be a hiccup. You might have a delay, but you have to be super, super transparent about all of that, because like you said, people are investing money in this. People are investing, it's their dreams, is building their companies, taking their company to the next stage, to the next level. So transparency is so important, and it's so important if you can to build um, things and sign contracts in the United States, because that's going to protect you.
Okay, we have a question right here for someone that is considering to start selling their products online. They say they have about 500 products in inventory. Can you guys help out to connect their uh, POS or their inventory system with an online store so they can um communicate and automate and communicate at the same time?
Absolutely. We've done that before. We love helping business out that want to take that step to build e-commerce, and maybe they have some software they're using, some platform. We'll find the best possible way to have that inventory, uh, for them to be able to manage that inventory like they've been doing, or we might find a better way for them to do it,
To do it.
that will allow them to have that e-commerce platform and for it to be seamless, because you want to sell something on your e-commerce store, you want it to be taken off your inventory, you want that constant feedback, so your store, your people that are working at the warehouse understand what's going on. You don't see any surprises. So maybe we'll definitely find a solution for their needs. We've done it so many times before. uh, we might incorporate what they have, or we might, there's so many alternatives to manage inventory now that are so cost effective, that are so cheap, and that work so great, where they can, have great control over inventory and have this great e-commerce platform is going to help them push sales. Absolutely.
And I like that you mentioned that, David, because oftentimes you're gonna run into software development companies that are just gonna try to sell you something that you need, but you could actually get it for a lower price. So having that honest communication with the client to build those long-term relationships are very important. I'm glad that you mentioned e-commerce in your presentation. As you know, right now e-commerce is growing faster than it was before the pandemic. A lot of companies must look into how they can sell their products online. For us, the U.S. Business Association of E-commerce and the Hispanic Chamber of E-commerce is one of our top priorities to get more businesses, small businesses, into the digital economy. So if you don't know how to start selling online, if you are a mid-sized, large-sized company and you think the process is very complicated, this is where you need to talk to companies like Ultrix that can help you out to figure out how you can do it in a very cost-efficient way. Um, David, I know it's late and you've been working a lot in Argentina today. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we leave?
Just one thing about what you were talking about, e-commerce. There's so many alternatives to build great e-commerce, cost-effective e-commerce. Whether you want to do it on WordPress with WooCommerce, you want to use Shopify or BigCommerce, whether you want to build something from scratch and integrate Stripe. Stripe is huge for payment processing now, and
Yeah.
it's so simple to integrate. Or you want to do PayPal. Maybe you're in a niche where you need a high-end e-commerce solution because that's what your clients expect from you. Or maybe you have thousands of products and you need to find a way to sell them online. There's definitely an alternative to push your sales through e-commerce, because like you said, there's an alternative for every type of business, to have their e-commerce, to have their store, to build their digital presence. It's so important. We've seen in the pandemic, I'm guessing a lot of companies are doing that. If there's any company that is selling physical products and does not have an e-commerce, it's a huge mistake. They have to get their e-commerce as soon as possible, not because we're old tricks or to do it with us, but they have to find a way to get their e-commerce. They're losing money every day, and they need to have a good digital presence. That's so important.
That is correct. And as you know, or I think I don't think I mentioned it before, but we're going to be working very closely with David and his team. Um, it's truly an honor to have you guys as members of the U.S. Business Association of E-commerce. And if any of our members or the people that follow us through our different platforms is interested in software development, nearshore development, come talk to us. We're working together as a team. I had a really great first impression. I remember, David, the first meeting that we had. I was very impressed by how professional you guys handle your business. I think we share a lot of the same values in terms of ethics and being responsible. And you talk a lot about trust. And I think in this business, in the software development business, trust is the key for a successful development project. So I want to thank you so much, David. I know it's not going to be the last time that we have you here. We have another very important topic, which is actually related to e-commerce in a couple of weeks. So we're going to get
That's
you
right.
back in two more Wednesdays, and hopefully by then we will introduce the rest of the team so people start getting familiarized with the faces behind the brand, and they understand that you guys are in this business for a very long time, and you don't want to burn any bridges. You want to start building meaningful and professional business relationships with companies in the US that want to dominate the world, because you can dominate the
Absolutely.
world if you have a very strong online presence, right?
Absolutely. We love having joined the U.S. Business Association of E-commerce, the Hispanic Chamber. We love having joined you guys. Community is so important. The community you're building is so great. It's going to help everybody out. People, companies helping each other out to grow. It's awesome. And like you said, trust is so important. Transparency is so important. And being part of this community is super important to us. And so hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, we'll meet again, and maybe we'll meet some of the other members. It's so important for us to be part of this and to build long-term relationships that are transparent and that are helping. We want to help everybody out to build a great business and to grow.
And for us, it's such a privilege to have companies in Argentina as members of the association, and Mexico. And Victor, Patricio, you're an incredible team, and we're gonna be supporting you as much as we can, because we're all in the same mission. We want more small businesses and more businesses in general to be actively participating in the digital economy, and I think that together we can make that happen. David, my friend, thank you so much. Enjoy the
Thank
rest
you.
of your evening, and we will meet in 2 more weeks.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, David. Take care.
Bye-bye.